you guys are just tuning in, we are in game one. Jasdeep is playing a 5-color control against David Cummins' Jund control. And at this point, it's looking like it's favoring David. Jasdeep on a mulligan and missing a land drop, and David having a Vraska in play now.
Yeah, and that Vraska is just going to keep ticking up until Jasdeep plays something he wants to kill. Could we possibly even see an ultimate this game?
We could see an ultimate. I don't think we want to. We're going to have an ultimate though against the Supreme Verdict deck. I think we just want to keep on going up and keep it open for the Vindicates later on in the game.
Oh, do you know for sure that Jasdeep's playing Supreme Verdict in his deck?
I do know he's playing Supreme Verdict. Yes.
Okay, interesting choice. So, Sylvan Caryatid, Supreme Verdict, not the best of combos. However, maybe he just felt like, hey, I need Sylvan Caryatid to get my 5 mana. Hey, I need Supreme Verdict because that card kills things.
Yep. We saw it in last standard too. The Bant deck to kind of counteract the Naya Blitz deck would play Avacyn's Pilgrim into turn 3 Verdict. It was actually a very viable play in the format.
And so we see Jasdeep losing a life with that Mana Confluence, just running out of main phase Revelation for 1, trying to hit a land, not getting there, gaining the life back. However, David overloading Mizium Mortars, doing 4 damage to all of the Deep's Sylvan Caryatids, essentially a double Vindicate there, beating in with the Course of Crewfrakes, dropping Jasdeep 17. I believe that's got to almost finish the game here.
Yeah, even a couple of top decks, he sees a Temple of Mystery there, keeps the land on top. He's still on 4 lands when David's on potentially 7 next turn. Yeah,
and he's just going to scoop him up at this point, That overloaded Mizium Mortars, double land destruction, being the 5-color control deck that was already mana screwed with the Vraska ticking out too much for Jasdeep to handle.
And I talk about this a lot, is what cards can we bring in? What colors do the sideboard options give you?
5 colors.
But 5 colors, kind of hard to talk about sideboard
Artifacts?
Artifacts. We're going to see mud cards coming out here. I'm not sure.
Here comes the Chalice of the Void.
I'm not.
That's not a standard.
That's not a standard card. We're probably going to see some amount of Dreadbores. I think that card's pretty good.
Yep. Be able to deal with just a big monster or
big monsters or planeswalkers. Jasdeep obviously doesn't know how many Vraskas is in the Jund control deck, but if it's more than 1, he's definitely going to want to see removal spells for them. So yeah, and then from the
very good against Vraska because it can just +1 Dreadboard and they actually get no value off of it.
Right, exactly. And you don't mind 1-for-1ing as long as your spells are coming later and are much more higher.
Right, Sphinx's Revelation, card advantage engines, just hopefully can take the game along.
Definitely.
1-for-1, the Jund deck. Get into that situation where you're casting Sphinx's Revelation, dodge the Rakdos returns, which are probably coming in, and hopefully just build out counter advantages of the Jund deck.
However, the problem with the 5-color deck is that all its spells are high impact, but you might come into the trouble where the Jund deck is going to be citing in some amount of hand disruption, and if you are just going into the later game where you want to be casting 1 really high impact spell and 1 mana spell,
you may have other plans for said spell.
If you are spending 1 mana to get rid of their 7 mana threat that they plan on casting, then we're definitely in good shape there. So Jund probably citing in some amount of duresses, Rakdos Return, those kind of things.
Yeah, I haven't seen Slaughter Games for a while. Maybe that's a card I'll bring in against Sphinx's Revelation.
Slaughter Games is a very good card, but also doesn't always do anything.
And there's Rakdos Return.
Rakdos Return, though. Definitely a card that does something. Kind of replaced Bonfire after rotation.
Yeah, it's just one of those cards. Oh, Elspeth.
Goodbye.
No.
Yeah. It's also very good against all the Planeswalkers, being able to destroy their hand and then also redirect the damage to the Planeswalkers.
Right, being able to kill a Jace and get their hand.
Right.
Ugh.
So, going to be a tough couple of games here if Jasdeep's able to pull it out, though. It's probably going to have to do with some card advantage engine, Sphinx Revelations, and David, and dodging the Rakdos Returns.
Dodging. Yeah, that'll be a really key for Jasdeep here. Do you think he would side in any cards to possibly deal with that Rakdos Return? Would he have cards like Syncopate in his sideboard, or just some type of counter spell because he knows those Rakdos Returns are coming in?
think the best counterspell for him is actually Negate.
Negate, just 2 mana, counter a Walker, counter a Rakdos Return.
Counter Thoughtseize if you have a relevant spell in hand. So it kind of is a catch-all against the mid-range decks and the control decks, especially when all their creatures are easily just removed.
And just a bit easier to cast than something like a Dissolve.
Yeah, definitely easier to cast. You can't be really choosy with your counterspells there. I think you have to just kind of pick the one that is the most high impact with also not straining your mana base too much when you're in 5 colors. And I think negates that card.
We have a legendary Bellingham player, Gray Swanson here. Gray, do you have any comments on this matchup between the 5-color control and the Jund control deck?
I feel like Jund's favored just because it seems a little more consistent because it's playing only 3 colors and not 5. And
Right, less mulligans.
Less mulligans, doesn't have to stretch the mana base as much. But Jasdeep does have a lot of cards that can interact well with what David's trying to do. So, I don't know. It seems like it could go either way.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to the amount of targeted discard spells the Jund deck is able to see early on in the game, and then if he lands a timely Rakdos Return, or on the other hand, if Jazzy lands a large Sphinx Revelation early in the game, then kind of goes either way.
And I believe we are seeing a mulligan from both players here.
Could be a mulligan, could just be.
Could be they're still shuffling here. I believe they presented, but we'll see in a second here. If that is true, I got to imagine that favors the Jund deck, simply having a more consistent mana base, probably overall slightly cheaper cards.
Yeah.
Disruption to punish the mulligan.
Yeah, and that's what we kind of saw in the game with Sam and Isaac. Isaac being, or Sam being on the mulligan to 5 and Isaac having 2 Thoughtseize. Not enough to take the game down, but definitely enough to hinder the red white burn deck there.
Right.
Could see it here too. So yeah,
okay,
we're actually
that's not a mulligan. So they're still doing their pregame procedures here.
Let's get these life totals set back. So if you're just tuning in, we are on game 2 in our round 4. Both these players are 2-1. David up a game now. Being able to take down the last game, Jasdeep having the mulligan and keeping a light hand, and then David being able to remove the Caryatids to really kind of shut down his mana base.
And we see Caryatids from both players here. Deep shocking himself with that Hallowed Found, drops him to 17 off of the Mana Confluence.
What do you
on turn 2?
What do you think we're seeing here with the open Hallowed Found there taking 2?
You know, I got to imagine it's got to be some kind of counterspell, I would guess. A Dissolve? No, that wouldn't make sense, actually, because he had the mana before. He just draws for his turn. I'm not sure what that could have been. 4 mana instant? I don't know for sure. We see a Banishing Light here from Jasdeep, taking out that Courser.
So even though a lot of times you don't want to give control too much time, I think it is actually better to cast the Reaper of the Wilds there on turn 6 when you're able to give it hexproof in response to a removal spell.
Right.
They could always have the Supreme Verdict, but I think you got to make them have it. Just playing it on turn 4 there and having it removed is kind of a bummer.
So Jasdeep dropping the 13 from the Stormbreath Dragon, 12 from the Mana Confluence, but here we see Obzadaddy. The 5-color control deck is playing the double white, double black card. Wow.
Yeah,
That's not a card we've seen too much in Standard these days.
Yeah, kind of got outclassed by, I think, Blood Baron just because it's easier to cast and it kind of fills a similar role. But we see a second Stormbreath here.
Stormbreath Dragon number 2 from David Cummins, beating Jasdeep down to 6, gaining 2 from that Obzadat. Yes, he's not at 112. He's actually at 7. And wow, this is all of a sudden turned into a crazy racing game of giant 5-mana monsters between these supposed control decks.
Yeah, we might see hopefully a Supreme Verdict, maybe a removal spell on one of them. But Jasdeep's in a precarious position with leaving even just one Stormbreath Dragon on the field because we could see a Monstrous.
And he just played a Sylvan Caryatid, so if he indeed does not have an answer to these Stormbreath Dragons, he is going to simply die to their damage. What could he have here? Maybe Celestial Flare?
Celestial Flare could be an answer. Realistically, anything that is able to actually target the Stormbreath Dragon. But David just playing out more creatures. And a Rakdos Return off the top.
Uh-oh.
So any amount of damage here is pretty lethal for Jasdeep, just because next turn David's just gonna be able to fireball him for a large amount of damage.
And it looks like did Jasdeep just no?
No, he has to have the removal spell here.
Oh, I believe we see a War Leader's Helix from Jasdeep targeting David Cummins, bringing him down to 4. Jasdeep gaining 4, taking 4 from the Stormbreath Dragon. We've got a 4-4 game here. That Obsidian is going to make it 2. Can Jasdeep simply pull this out with like another War Leader's Helix going to the face?
I would like to see a Obsidian come back in, swing, pass a turn, quicken verdict.
Oof. Quicken verdict against the Stormbreath Dragons.
In the 5-color control deck.
In the 5-color control deck.
Seems good to me.
Now remember, David Cummins still has that Rakdos Return on top of his library here. So Jasdeep, Obsidian coming into play, dropping David to 2, drawing a card, looking for an answer.
Hopefully
Can he do it?
Yeah, hopefully get to see a board wipe here, something of the sort. I think David has to block here.
Yeah.
He definitely, okay, he does have to block. But probably choosing his blockers. I think Sylvan Caryatid probably is just the best bet.
Yep. Maybe he's thinking, hey, am I going to Rakdos Return for 6 if he wipes my board here or something like that? But I'm not sure there's too many situations where, his creatures are going to be dead, but the Sylvan Caryatid is going to be alive here. But he's doing some math here. He's thinking, hey, I want to be able to do 6 with that Rakdos Return. Right now, it looks like he does have 7 mana, so 1 more land would make that Rakdos Return for 6 lethal.
We're already on 7 mana?
Yeah, right now with the Caryatid.
Yeah, I think Jazzy's way out of this is a board wipe, though, so I think we need another 2 lands to make this actually lethal after this turn. But we will see. We do see a block from the Caryatid.
And he's just going to block floating mana. This is an intense game we got here.
It is an intense game.
That card is a beating against some decks.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Jasdeep has. It's kind of surprising he was actually able to combat the damage from 2 Stormbreath Dragons for that many turns, but
and it reveals the Blood Bearing, extends the hand, just not quite able to deal with those double Stormbreath Dragons there.
Stormbreath Dragon is a great card, and I wish I could run it main board in the Jund deck, but it just takes up too many slots that you want to just have for removal spells, because against the aggressive decks, having a 4/4 flyer really doesn't do that much on
4 Air Elemental, not so hot.
Not so hot, especially for 5 mana. The Pro-White hardly being relevant, like there's not a lot of...
Maybe you can block a Boros Reckoner sometimes.
Or block like a Soldier of the Pantheon, or I don't know, Bremas, something. But yeah, it being in the sideboard is definitely key, because bringing in if they don't see game 1, maybe they set out some of their removal spells for it, because they know you're playing a control deck, and then you just jam 4 Stormbreaths, being able to take out their Planeswalkers very efficiently, and then just having a threat on the field that's just really hard to kill, and also just deals damage.
Dodges the Tension Sphere, dodges Azorius Charm. A lot of cards that Pro-White comes in handy against. Banishing Light.
Yeah, definitely a lot of good cards that blanks. He blanks a lot of removal, definitely.
Yeah, so we saw David Cummins there with the Jund deck on the back of double Stormbreath Dragon, just barely being able to race out that Obsidian in round 4.
So that was a fairly quick round. Our match. We'll be trying to find you another match here shortly. But we are here at Dark Tower Games, FNM. Stay tuned. We'll hopefully be bringing you another match.
Thank you.